Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video from Average FPL. With this game week being a bit longer than usual, I thought it'd be a good idea just to analyse some different players that are going to the African Cup of Nations and look at good alternatives. Those highly owned players that are maybe missing, they're going to be missing until, about mid-February, and it's going to be about 4 game weeks that they're going to miss. So looking at that, I thought, why not take those players, look at good alternatives to move off because you might be having those players in your team, and then where do you go from there, really? So, the players, when I was looking at highly owned players that are going to African Cup of Nations, I couldn't find any defenders really that were highly owned, and same for strikers. A lot of the players that are going tend to be where you've basically got Mendy from Chelsea, and then a lot of midfielders. So with that in mind, I'm just going to look at the goalkeeper and midfield position specifically, and I'm just looking at good options. You might, if you had a couple of players and two transfers, you might want to transfer to a really cheaper midfielder from Salah, and then upgrade one of your strikers to somewhere else. So this is really just if you've got one transfer, um, to use, and you've got a player that's going to be absent for the next 4 game weeks, where could you go from there, really? Because other than seeing your individual team, it's hard to give specific advice for more than one move. So yeah, talking about Mendy to start with, Chelsea have also got some blanks anyway with the Club World Cup Championship, and so I think really it would be sensible to get off of him anyway, at least in the short term. And the first goalkeeper that I'm looking at is David De Gea. Now, I know Man United's form isn't that great, but I think De Gea's made about 19, 20 saves in his last 4 game weeks. So you're really thinking if he's making those saves and Man United do keep a clean sheet, which isn't impossible, he'll be in for some bonus points, a good chance. He's a million cheaper than Mendy as well, just about. So I think it gives you the bit of extra flexibility with transfer funds moving forward as well. And looking at Man United's fixtures, I know they didn't do well against Wolves, but they are going to win eventually, aren't they? They're not going to slip down and be mid-table. They should. You've got to really gamble on them winning games, and if they're winning games, they're probably keeping clean sheets. And teams like Burnley, haven't been scoring very many goals recently anyway. And De Gea's a sort of keeper. If you look at the fixtures, you could keep him for longer. Um, those fixtures are quite good beyond, the 19th of Feb um, there. So he's one option I'd definitely look at getting in instead of Mendy. Now the next option would be Ederson. I know he's got that Chelsea game immediately, but I mean it's not outside the realms of possibility that Man City could keep a clean sheet against Chelsea at home anyway. And once you get past that, those fixtures immediately look really good, and especially up till the 19th of February, and then that's when the players start coming back anyway. It is good to have a bit of extra assurances with the fixtures because players that are travelling back from this competition, especially ones that get later into the competition, they're going to be tired when they come back. They're travelling a long way, playing a lot of games in short space of time. Then they're coming back, they might not be ready to come in and play straight away. Their club's medical teams are going to want to assess them, and there's different logistical things in place as well that we don't always know. In fantasy league. So I would say Edison is a good solid shout. I've actually had him in my team recently, and yeah, he's expensive, but he's also highly up the point scoring system as well, up the point scoring ranks. So he's worth the money. And Man City are clearly the best team in the league. So you would like to think the best team in the league has a good chance of keeping clean sheets as well. My third goalkeeper here is Fabianski. Now, West Ham have been bit hit and miss recently. He is a lot cheaper than Mendy, over a million cheaper, and he's very low owned. And I just thought West Ham's fixtures, when I was doing my research, West Ham's fixtures just look a bit too good to pass up. Out of those 6 game weeks, if you said you had Newcastle, Watford, Leeds, and Norwich, 4 out of your next 6 game weeks, you'd be pretty pleased with that. And I think if you can get clean sheets in those games, he's well worth the selection, and it gives you that flexibility financially going forward. And he's a low-owned keeper, so he'll be scoring points when other keepers might not be. I do also think he gets quite a lot of saves as well. I think he's been known to save a penalty or two in his time, um, as well over the years, and so for that reason, he's my third goalkeeper. Now moving on, what we've got is I went to the midfield section after looking through the defence and I had no defenders really. Looking at the midfielders, you've got Salah, Mane, Benrahma. Those are like the main players that have gone. So with that in mind, going from a West Ham keeper, I would say, you know, if you had Benrahma and you didn't have Bowen, a straight swap to Bowen is pretty is very straightforward. Looking at West Ham's fixtures again, we just talked about, so don't need to go into too much detail again. He is reasonably owned as well, and there's a chance his price could increase going forwards if more people are getting on him. But I mean, you would think West Ham have a good chance of getting a run of fixtures together. If earlier in the video, if you're thinking what you're talking about with De Gea, Man United are rubbish, well, that fixture shouldn't be red then, should it? That fixture should be another green one. If that fixture turns to green, that is a fantastic run of fixtures there. Um, that you would really back Jared Bowen to score some points in because he's in good form as it is anyway. The good thing about having Salah and Mane in your team is that you can essentially transfer to any other midfielder on the list. And if you're going to do that, then you've got such a huge selection to choose from. But Bowen is somebody that is a reasonably priced midfielder who has huge upside and great value for money. So, like I said with Salah and Mane, they're both going, and that's going to leave gaps in Liverpool's attack. Jota is highly owned. He is a good price, though, and being in midfield, he is also going to get clean sheet points, and he's been starting up front anyway. So you'd like to think he's probably the most guaranteed of starts he will ever be. Liverpool's fixtures look great. That Leicester game is a potential, difficult one depending on which Leicester turn up. But other than that, I think Brentford, Crystal Palace, Burnley, and Norwich just look fantastic options for scoring and getting that extra clean sheet point. So I think if you were moving from Salah or Mane, I know it's going to be a different type of Liverpool attack. It might not be as clinical as they might have been, but they're still going to create chances. They're still going to score goals, and you would think if Liverpool are going to score goals, then you would think that Jota is going to be amongst those chances. So really, I wouldn't buy into the hype of Liverpool, not going to be the same team without them because they're not. But it's not going to be not going to lose the next 5, 6 games are they without Salah and Mane. Going on to my final player, is going to be Son. Now he's about the same ownership as Jota, and he has some difficult fixtures coming up, but he has been amongst the points recently, and he did go on. I think it was a 3-game scoring streak, um, a few game weeks ago, and those fixtures, Arsenal, London Derby can be high scoring. Chelsea, they are missing the main keeper, so you don't know how that's going to affect them confidence wise as well. You've got Southampton and Wolves, reasonable fixtures. Man City, fair enough, but still not outside the realms of possibility that Spurs score against Man City. It's not crazy talk. And then you've got Leeds as well. So I think he's a really good option. I always think with Spurs, Kane and Son, guaranteed 90 minutes. Usually, if anyone scored, it is Kane and Son either scoring or assisting. And so I just think that is a really solid option. If you didn't have, if you had a lot of money left over from getting rid of one of your premium attackers or midfielders, why not chance it on Son? Reasonable fixtures, and you don't really know how it's going to go either. They've also got games to add in, and you don't know where these double game weeks are going to be. These games that could get added in could fall on a double game week along with Southampton, and then you've got a fantastic triple captaincy option there as well, ready made in your team that you got in before. So yeah, that's we're going to call it there. Those are some what I think are good options for your players that are like for like that are going for Africa Cup of Nations. I would like to have done some defence and midfield, some defence and attack options, but there wasn't really that many players going. So there are obviously players in defence and attack that you could get in if you had two transfers, but that's a bit more of a complicated situation. Like I said earlier, it really depends on your specific team and where you want to go from there. So hopefully it's helped you out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I've missed any players that are highly owned that are going to go to the Africa Cup of Nations that are going to affect people's teams. And also let me know if you think I've missed any hidden gems or obvious gems um, of replacements you could get in that could help our fantasy league team. So thank you very much for listening. Good luck in the rest of this game week. I know a lot of people have West Ham players coming up playing against Norwich, so hopefully that'll be positive for everyone. And I'll see you in the next one.